Hi, I'm James with FPSGeneral. Welcome to the second episode of Planetcast. This is indeed a very special episode as we are extremely close to the launch of PlanetSide 2. But before we get any further, let me introduce my co-hosts Sardis and Cryosin. Why don't you say hello, guys? Guys? Hello? We seem to be having a bit of technical difficulty. Luckily, I do have two backup hosts, Matt Higbee, the creative director for PlanetSide 2, and Tramel Isaac, the senior art director.
Look at Duggan, dude. He's perpetually happy, dude. Nice.
Yes.
His expression never changes, dude.
That's me at the Halo 4 launch. I brought a bunch of PlanetSide 2 dog tags, and I started asking people what faction they were going to join. Half of them were like, what the fuck are you talking about? But we got a couple TR guys there. I was surprised.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't get your ass kicked trying to do something like that.
I almost did. This one guy came up to me, and I was like, what's the best part of the Halo franchise? And he was wasted off his ass. It was like midnight. He had his 2-year-old in a stroller, and he was just walking down Market Street, and he just grabs a microphone, looks at the camera, and goes, PlayStation.
Rapid fire questions. What are you looking forward to Halo? One word.
PlayStation.
What kind of answer is that? All right. Let's get these questions rolling. Alrighty. So, God, where am I going to start this thing off? So many questions.
Here's my James Duggan.
Oh, that looks way nicer. All right, so we got 5 days until launch. And you guys seem strangely unstressed. I guess you're just hiding it very well.
Nah, man, I'm good. Dude, this is all downhill for us. I mean, I don't know about Matt. Matt's got the hard part. We finished our work a long time ago. We made sure that when it came down to these last couple of weeks, we were just like doing, spot fixes and touch-ups, things that we, choose to do, not necessarily things that we have to do. But, the balancing of the game, I mean, that's huge. So Matt's got all the weight of the world on his shoulders.
Let's talk about balance. How is it going? Where is it at a happy place right now for launch, do you think?
Yeah, I think for the most part, we have a lot of very extensive data that we can kind of call from to be able to figure out how the game is balancing. We know that we have a lot of roles that need more fleshing out, but right now on an Empire versus Empire versus Empire basis, the game actually feels really balanced. It feels competitive when Banu are fighting against TR, when Banu's fighting against NC. They each have their own unique advantages and disadvantages, and none of them are so strong that they make it so that you always lose against this faction. So that's perfect. I actually feel really fortunate with how the balance has worked out, considering how much of a challenge we knew balancing this game was going to be. The fact that it is as balanced as it is right now is actually really good news.
Yeah, I would totally agree that the factions are at a very good spot right now. Let's talk about roles, though. Let's talk about... I think the one thing that we've seen perpetually is air is too strong, anti-air is too strong, air is too strong, anti-air is too strong. And I'm a pilot, so I love it when air is too strong. It's my jam. I have the best 2 weeks of my life. But what do you think the solution is there? Do you think there needs to be a new role introduced? Is it just about crunching numbers until you find the perfect mix? What's going on there?
It's a good question. I think that that's probably the most challenging single point of balancing the game. And it kind of has to be the point at which all interactions in the game sort of are balanced from. That's kind of like the fulcrum of our overall gameplay balance is the air to ground and ground to air gameplay. It's not perfect yet, but it's getting better and better. One of the things that we're doing with this next patch is, well, let me go back a couple patches, actually. So very recently, we changed it so that anti-air was no longer as dominant as it had been. Anti-air for a while had been so strong that aircraft were just not used very often. And that was too much. So we kind of nerfed anti-air, and at the same time, we kind of buffed aircraft. That made it so aircraft were way too powerful. So what we've done is we've retained most of the anti-air nerfs, although we've changed them slightly. So rather than just not doing very much damage, now you're going to be more range limited in those different anti-air roles. So the in-placed anti-air turret's going to have the farthest range. The Skyguard is going to have sort of a medium to long range, and then Burster Maxes are going to have sort of like a medium to short range for anti-air. They'll all be able to do good damage, but they're definitely going to have to be used in different situations, which makes sense based on the kind of platform that they are. one of the things that we're doing is making sure that we don't have a lot of one-size-fits-all type solutions. So one of the problems in the game balance currently, right now, as of the patch that's on beta, is that Empire-specific fighters with rocket pods are a bit too much of a one-size-fits-all solution. So the change that we're introducing to fix that is we're basically making it so that those rocket pods are weaker against armored targets. They won't now be as good against tanks and sky guards and that kind of stuff as they have been previously. And really, our desire all along has been to have Liberators be the thing that is the really strong airborne anti-armor vehicle. And fighters are supposed to sort of be a supplement to it, but not necessarily a awesome at hunting ground vehicles type vehicle. They're supposed to be good at taking out ground infantry. They're supposed to be good at softening up ground vehicles, but they're not supposed to just be annihilating ground vehicles the same way that they are right now. So we've nerfed their ability, at least the rocket pod's ability, to do tons and tons of damage to heavily armored ground targets. We've cranked up the Liberator's ability to do that, and we want people to be using Empire-specific fighters as anti-Liberator now, a little bit more than just as a one-size-fits-all anti-ground solution. So all of that to say, that's a lot of shit to talk about, but it's actually a couple very minor changes to what does damage to what and how much damage things are capable of doing. So rocket pods are getting a little weaker against armored targets, and anti-air is going to be increasing in the damage that it does, but decreasing in the range at which it can apply that damage, depending on what type of anti-air you're using.
Right. And I'm sure, some pilots are going to be, I got an echo. I have an echo somewhere. I can hear chocolatey voice.
I think somebody's having a conversation.
Okay. There we go. It's all good. So I'm sure some pilots are going to be, a little bit disappointed. Oh, I was, really into tank hunting, but that just means there's going to be more Liberators in the air, so they can hunt Liberators. It, doesn't necessarily completely pigeonhole them out of one thing. They can, kind of shift their roles and things like that. But
our plan on kind of a going forward basis is to allow those Empire-specific fighters to have a good anti-ground vehicle weapon that they can use too. The problem was that the rocket pods were too much of a one-size-fits-all. They did too much damage to ground vehicles and too much damage to ground infantry. At launch, they're going to be highly effective against ground infantry and minimally effective against ground armor. But later on, we might add some lock-on air-to-ground missiles that are just super good at anti-armor duty, but they would be unable to be wielded against ground infantry because you can't lock on to ground infantry. So post-launch, we can still make those fighters be able to fulfill those roles, but we just didn't want them to be able to do all roles at once with one attachment.
Yeah, that makes a world of sense. All right, so let's talk about just going back to faction balance. I'm just going to bring up one example. As a tank driver, or pilot, or whatever you want to say, you have your own tank, almost like the max ability in the faction-specific max ability in PlanetSide 1. You have your own faction-specific ability. You were doing an excellent job of lip syncing, by the way. So let's talk about the TR Prowler, right? It's the quickest tank, technically, but its ability is to bolt itself to the ground, make it immobile. It's awesome for like artillery, but it's almost counterintuitive, and I'm sure a lot of drivers want a nitrous boost that, say, the Mag Rider's getting. Is that going to be something that is ever going to be available in the future in some kind of maybe lessened state?
Potentially. We've talked a lot about adding...
I love how T-Ray's just shaking his head, and you're like, yeah, maybe.
Mag boost for VS only.
No, I'm not talking about the nitro boost, but we definitely do have plans on having multiple abilities that you're going to be able to have for maxes and for tanks. Right now, all maxes just get a charge, but it's always sort of been our intention to have Empire-specific abilities for maxes, and also common pool and Empire-specific abilities for the different ground vehicles. So post-launch, you might see us adding more specific abilities to those vehicles. Right now, I agree with a lot of TR players who say that their tank situationally has the least opportunities to really use its special ability. The Vanguard having a shield that you can activate is obviously a ability that's useful in tons of different situations. The Mag Burner ability on the Mag Rider is obviously useful in tons of situations. It's a lot more rare that you're going to find a situation where the lockdown ability on the Prowler is exactly what you need to be able to turn the tide of battle for yourself or even for your entire empire. But there are situations where it's useful. It's just more rare. So I definitely get that complaint from people. There's other things that the Mag Rider or that the Prowler does do better than the other vehicles. So I still feel like it holds its own pretty well.
It's tremendous anti-infantry.
The best. Yeah, right. Exactly. It's really good at cleaning up infantry. It's relatively maneuverable for being able to get places quickly. So it's not a bad tank by any stretch. I don't like playing this is the strongest, this is the weakest game. But I think that TR players, especially TR tank drivers, do have legitimate complaints about their vehicle. But our plan is actually to be adding more stuff to all these vehicles going forward, rather than just making some change to make their ability that they have right now significantly better or whatever.
All right, and I'm gonna on the note of more stuff, I'm gonna direct this one at T-Ray. So when the game launches, I asked you last week, and I'm not sure if we're actually gonna put that audio up, so I'm just gonna repeat myself here. Can we expect to see a lot more weapons as the game launches, and even 6 months after launch, are there gonna be new weapons coming into the game?
Oh, well, we've already completed like a whole slew of weapons that we just haven't released yet. And we're constantly making different parts, because each one of the weapons are made out of basically 9 different parts. And in order to create more variety of weapons, we just keep adding to that parts list. So that's an ongoing thing. Even walking up to this launch, we've been creating new parts just in case, design decides they want to release a new weapon week after launch or 2 weeks after launch. Those things will already be in the queue. So we've got like a whole slew of things that we've already slated for post-launch, as far as like weapons and vehicle attachments and different cosmetic things that we can add to the game. So as far as like how many things we have, I mean, we've got like a whole gang load of stuff that we can release at any point in time. So we're already ahead of the curve. So it's just up to, depending on how the marketplace goes and what people purchase and the types of things that they want. Thanks for the typing, dude. Appreciate it. Yeah, really,
he's writing you a very sweet email about how he loves your shirt.
No, but based on what we, how the market goes, the wants and the needs of the people, we'll make adjustments based on that too. So we've got like a bank of weapons and vehicle stuff that we're yet to release, and then we're going to be getting feedback from the public, and then finding out where we need to go from there.
Awesome. So this is also directed at T-Ray. Has there been some kind of infiltrator or spy who snuck into your office and put up a TR Max in the background and changed your shirt to a red shirt? Have you defected to our faction?
Not at all.
Like I did?
He says he's asked what colors Ducati is.
They only make them in 2 colors, dude. Come on.
What color's your Infinity? What color's your Infinity?
Okay, here's the story with my Infinity.
Dude's always wearing red.
Here's the story. So I bought my truck. I had a red F-150.
Oh,
and this was way back in the day, dude. I was broke as shit, and I had to buy a truck, and it was the only one they had. It was cheap as fuck. So I had that. Then I got a little bit of cash, so I got the Infinity. No, I got the Ducati.
The red Ducati.
He came in yellow and red.
Right.
So I'm not gonna roll around in the freaking yellow Ducati, dude. That's the same what I'm saying. I'm not rolling in the yellow Ducati. So I had to pick the red one, and because I had the red truck and the red Ducati, I got a red car to round it out. So that's the story of the red vehicles.
I'll have to buy you some purple decals.
You're dead, dude.
It's got nothing to do with my faction alliance. And my choice of clothing. I got to mix it up. I can't wear purple all the time. So I even wear blue sometimes. Imagine that.
All right. So what are we planning for launch day? Obviously, the game is launching, so a lot of people are just going to be glued to their monitors. But what kind of internet festivities are we looking forward to at SOE?
Well, thanks to Matt, I'll be going to DreamHack by myself to support ProSieben.
Dude, I'm jealous. I wish I was going.
The game over in Sweden. So I'll be on the plane on the 20th. So whatever they're doing here, I have no idea what they're doing. So I'm sure Matt will come in with no shirt on, with the NC logo shaved into his chest. So,
That's right.
Tattoos, man.
That's
Gotta
right.
get some faction
Color
tattoos.
my chest hair, yellow and blue.
Yeah. But I think Ty's got like some kind of press tour signed up or something. I don't know. She was talking about something like that. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah. No, I think there's plans on doing some obviously some press events like this podcast, as well as just talking to lots of people. My main thing, I'm looking forward to watching the game. I like to log into the servers every once in a while and just kind of float around and watch people play. I'm really looking forward to seeing that on launch day.
Okay, here's a question out of left field. A lot of, and this might just be because of my ignorance of PlanetSide 1. It might have already been done in PlanetSide 1, but I just didn't notice. A lot of MMOs and a lot of very social games like PlanetSide have kind of festive events going on during the holiday season or Halloween or Easter or what have you. Is that something that we can see in the future, maybe? Like I don't know, an MCG with a mistletoe hanging out the front or something?
I mean, we just had this conversation like an hour ago. I think this year is probably a little too late to be trying to focus on certain things like that. One of our main, tenets for this year, moving into the next year, is to fix as many bugs as we possibly can, and to add that type of asset load to our workload is probably not wise, especially when we're dealing with people who may have serious problems or serious issues with the game. And I would much rather fix those issues than be making mistletoe or like stupid Santa hats for people and adding functionality for stuff like that. So our main focus from here until the beginning of the year is going to be making sure that the game runs as smooth as possible, make sure it's bug free, make sure we're addressing everybody's concerns as soon as we possibly can, and making sure that we have a bright future on our hands. And then maybe next year we'll talk about some of that stuff.
Oh, bug fixing is an awesome Christmas present. Much nicer than a little mistletoe on my MCG. All right, so, man, the community aspect, I am just completely blown away by the transparency of SOE during this whole process and how lively the community is. And how are you guys going to keep that going after launch?
We're just going to keep doing the same things, I think. We're going to keep listening. We're going to keep talking, keep involving all our players in the conversations that help shape the game.
I think you're going to have quite a few more players as well.
Well, there'll be a lot more voices added to the conversation, but that doesn't mean that the conversation is going to end. And that's what people are excited about. People aren't excited because me and Tremella are like some super cool dudes. They're excited because
we are
listening, and we
try.
We want them to participate. We want to hear them.
We definitely want to continue to do. I mean, this is part of our job now. Matt and I, this is what we do. So for us to continue doing our job isn't hard. That's not hard. And it doesn't really matter how many people, there'd be a couple more people talking, but, usually what you get is, there are a certain number of people who want to talk. And then there's a certain group of people who are just happy that a conversation is being had and don't really want to, participate in that conversation. They just want to listen to the conversation being had. And I think the majority of people are those types of people. They appreciate the fact that we're having the conversation, and they gather their information based on the questions asked by the few who actually want to ask those questions. So I don't think it's going to be that hard for us to kind of keep up with the flow of things as they continue to grow, hopefully grow into something that's huge. But I mean, we're going to keep doing what we do. We're going to keep going to different venues and pimping the game and keep adding to the game and making sure that the game is stable and making it faster and making it more efficient and, answering questions and answering the needs of the people. I mean, we're going to continue to do that because it's in our best interest to do so.
And in the same vein of optimization and things like that, I just want to quickly ask, whenever I get excited about a game, I've always had a bomb PC. I've always invested a lot of money in it. And I have this cousin who's almost a little brother to me, and he's always had a terrible computer. I've always given him hand-me-downs, stuff like that. But I get excited about these games. He's a huge gamer. I share these games with him, and he's really excited to play them, but he just doesn't have the hardware. So, while this optimization is happening, do you think that the minimum system requirements are going to come down, or are they going to kind of stay where they're at? I know the graphical fidelity of the game is very high. and it's a very realistic looking game, and it's not World of Warcraft or something that's very stylized and can be, brought down to super minimal levels. But are you kind of targeting the upper echelon of PC gamers here, or are you trying to get as many people as you possibly can to play the game?
Well, you answer this one, Tramell. This is more your area of expertise than mine.
Well, I mean, obviously, we want to get as many people in the game as possible. For us, moving forward, what we're going to do is on the art side, we're going to continue to optimize the things that we've made, because what we want to do is keep the footprint as small as possible and even possibly reduce it going forward, and still at the same time still be able to add more stuff. So, reducing the minimum system spec, I don't think that will drop, but those people that fall within that system spec should have a better performance as time goes on. So, not dropping the system spec, but making those people that fall within have a better frame rate, have a better time, and have a better opportunity to have higher settings in the graphic settings. So for us, it's more about optimizing going forward and still be able to have the leg room to continue to add stuff without, putting a burden on the people that actually have the game running now.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I wanted to briefly touch on, unless you have something to add to that, Matt.
Well, I mean, just that obviously our goal is to try to get the game into as many hands as possible. So optimization isn't something that we're done with as soon as the game ships. It's something we're going to continue to work on. Like Tramell said, some of it is on the art side, some of it's on the code side. Some of it's just learning what things we know are more expensive and what things are less expensive and doing more of the less expensive stuff. So, yep.
I don't even know if I want to touch on the subject because you guys have talked about this to death, and the end metagame, and that there's things that people want to see kind of this grandiose goal, so to speak. And I think it's not nailed down yet, but I think that the consensus seems to be it's going to have to do something with outfits, whether it's outfit leveling or kind of outfit rewards for completing certain objectives, or the mission system is going to contribute to it, or like a total continental takeover, which has happened a couple of times. I've logged in and I've seen all purple or all blue or all red on Indar or whatever. But have any advancements been made internally? Have you guys really thought of like, oh, this idea is the one? It's the thing that's going to keep people playing this for 2 decades as opposed to 5 years or what have you?
I mean, almost all of our long-term large feature additions that we're planning on putting into the game, things like player-based building, things like outfit advancement, is all built around the idea of kind of building up and reinforcing the metagame. So yeah, there's lots of different ideas that all sort of work towards that. Before launch, in fact, in a recent patch, last week's patch, we just started adding things like a reinforcement to capturing the entire continent. Now your empire gets a buff that stays on you until somebody else comes and takes that continent. Each continent has its own buff that you can earn. So that's kind of cool just from a bragging rights perspective, but also because you get something from it when you completely take over a continent. I've said previously that really the end game of PlanetSide 2 is really about these large organized groups of players playing against each other. And it is, and we need to put in more and more mechanics that sort of, again, support and build that up. So yeah, I mean, that's where almost all of our energy kind of moving forward is going towards. Is how to make this be something that's compelling to people for years and years and years.
And this is one of those questions. Like every game has esports aspirations. There's not a first-person shooter out there that doesn't have esports aspirations. And after the tournament's been completed, I know it's kind of probably on the back burner, but do you guys have any kind of format that you think the esports is going to fall into? Is it going to be up to the community? Is there going to be a weird group or a weird outfit that starts some kind of strange pseudo metagame with like 10v10 or something in certain configuration, and then that's going to be the esports go-to? Or do you want something huge scale and something you can show off and get a lot of money behind and offer it to competitive gamers?
So we haven't talked a lot about esports. Obviously, I'm a huge esports fan. I guess that's not obvious, but I am a huge esports fan. It's one of the reasons that I'm furious at Trammell for going out to DreamHack, because he gets to go watch one of the world's coolest
You were
sports
supposed to
competitions.
go, dude. You were supposed to be on the plane too, so don't front like you couldn't go.
Have fun, man. You're gonna get to see some pretty cool
Turkey
sports
on the plane.
fanaticism. But to me, there's two aspects that I think are absolutely must have for us to implement an esports mode into PlanetSide 2. This is something that we care about. It is something that we're moving forward with exploring how we do it. But the stuff that is really critical to me is I don't want to pull people, especially the most competitive people or the most competitive outfits, out of playing PlanetSide. I don't want them to stop playing the PlanetSide game because they're off playing in the tournament mode, or they're queuing for a matchmaking thing in a tournament mode all the time. That would be a deal breaker for me. So when and if we do more esports focused modes, the way that I see it happening is your entry into participating in those quarterly or yearly tournaments would be based on the accomplishments that you make playing the actual game and the accomplishments that your empire makes playing the actual game. I think that really helps a lot. It means that people are invested in making sure that their empire is doing well, and their outfit is doing well in conquesting in the real game. And these really competitive players aren't just suddenly leaving the overall game in order to pursue the tournament mode or the esports mode. And then the other thing that I think that we have a really amazing opportunity to do is show a bunch of different levels. So we could actually show the 12v12 outfit, like the outfit that has 12 guys in it, and they're just badass at a single squad doing small scale operations. I could see that being the equivalent of like featherweight.
Damn, Duggan, what you do, man?
They're after me.
They after you, man.
I can see that being the equivalent of something like a featherweight boxer, right? It's a smaller, more tactical thing. But then we could go all the way up to heavyweight too. We could have the 250 person fighting against 250 person battle that you could watch. And that's just a different weight class. Those weight classes would be competing within each other. So if you're a 12-person outfit, you'd be competing against other 12-person outfits to see who can get the most outfit points to participate in the outfit tournament. But the larger outfits would be able to do that too. So that's something that I think we uniquely can do that no other shooters really can do to the same degree, and that's exciting. But again, super key to me that none of it takes away from people actually playing the PlanetSide gameplay experience.
Right.
For us to implement that kind of system.
Right. Because there's a lot of small-scale first-person shooters, but there's only one massive-scale first-person shooter.
That's right.
All right, so this is something that just kind of came to me one day, and there's going to be a lot of new certs coming into the game after it launches. Maybe not immediately, but down the road, there's going to be new certs, new vehicles, new weapons, all this cool kind of stuff. Do you think we're going to see, like, cert saving, maybe? Like, is some guy just going to be sitting on 600 or 700 certs? Is there a cap of certs you can have before you have to spend some? How's that work?
Is there a cap of certs that you must have before you have to spend some? What do you mean?
Like, I noticed on my certification bar, it said, like, 400, 500, and then after I got the 1,000, it was like 1,400 or something. And it was like maybe 1/8 full of this orange bar. It might be pure ignorance spouting out of my mouth right now, but basically, if I don't spend certs and I choose to save them to see what's coming down the road, and then maybe I'm the first one who gets like a 4-man buggy or something, do you not want players to save their certs? You want them to spend them? Is it up to the player? Does it matter?
Well, I mean, we'll have some sort of cap on cert points, but it's going to be pretty high. What you were probably seeing was your progress towards the next cert, not how close you were to having your certs all capped out. But yeah, I mean, there will be a cap to the total number of certs that you can store, but it'll be very, very, very high.
Okay.
It'll be like 10,000 certs or something like that, where most certifications that you actually unlock cost way less than 1,000. So, yeah, I don't necessarily see that being a big problem. We have a lot of different things that people can spend cert points on. I think it'll take a really, really long time for someone to expend all the stuff that they could spend cert points on and then be banking certs. It would be a big challenge.
So you think that the content's going to roll out faster than people are going to be able to spend them in the long run?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And finally, the last question before I let you guys go. Actually, I have two more. Number one, way down the line, 5-6 years down the line, this is a very action-oriented game, but it also does have that long-term progression that is 5 years down the line going to separate a veteran player from a newer player. Maybe newer players, they'll still be viable. I don't think they'll be not viable, but is that something that you guys are concerned with in the development, seeing kind of this grizzled veteran versus noob kind of, not hatred, but almost this impassable barrier? I'm just going to say EVE Online is what comes to mind. And I know it's a poor comparison to PlanetSide, but if someone were to pick up EVE Online right now and try and play it, they just couldn't do it. They're just too far behind. It's been almost a decade of people banking these skill points and making themselves much more powerful.
I think that's the difference between us and Eve is that, what we offer for the players is not necessarily something that's going to change the outcome of a fight. So it doesn't matter. It's like, okay, you take an NBA player that's been playing for 20 years or 15 years or 10 years, whatever, 10 years, doesn't make him better than LeBron coming into the league just because he's been playing for 10 years. That doesn't make it. It's all about skill. At the end of the day, it's a skill-based game. So the younger guys have just as good of a chance to, take somebody out as the guy who's been playing. The younger guy might not know all the ins and outs and all the nuances of the game, but when it comes to just squeezing the trigger and shooting somebody in the head, that's the same experience that you've had when you played any other first-person shooter. So that's gonna be the great equalizer, is skill.
Yeah, another thing I would say on that sort of same along that same vein, and Trammell is absolutely right. It's a much more skill-based game, but we also don't have a lot of those extended. You have to unlock this before you unlock this before you unlock this type of progressions. Most of our progression is relatively flat. So as a new player, if you decide you want to get heat-seeking missiles, you can just get heat-seeking missiles. You don't have to get dumbfire missiles and then heat-seeking missiles and then heat-seeking missiles Mark II before you have good heat-seeking missiles.
Right.
We just, you know what? Get the heat-seeking missiles. Now you have awesome heat-seeking missiles.
Right.
And one of our goals with that is we always want to have a new player who's jumping in for the very first time be able to be competitive with that 5-year player. That's been a conscious goal that we've had since the very, very beginning, because we didn't want to run into that situation with a game like this where you're not competitive until you've sunk hours and years of your life into being able to play the game. That would be really against what we're trying to do with PlanetSide.
Okay, so my last question is, I'm just going to go around and ask what if the one thing that you're most excited for launch. I know as developers, it's a ridiculous question because you have a million things running through your head, but the thing that I am overly excited for, number one, no character wipes, obviously, but I'm really excited to get into Mosquito, get Bandicam or Avromedia or Fraps rolling, and just look at the numbers of people fighting and some of the most, just some kind of like war cinematography kind of thing, and see maybe impossible numbers of prowlers and, that kind of thing. That's what I'm really looking forward to, is just the massive day one rush in and everybody's having a blast.
Yeah.
I think what I'm looking for is just another chapter in it, like closing the book on that chapter of making a game, because I think making the game is actually harder than maintaining it, because now we've gotten to the point where we can start adding stuff, or we can start adjusting stuff, or we can start refining things and making them better. It's always easier to polish than it is to create. So for us on the art side, I think is going to be a little bit more liberating, because now we've got a groundwork that we can work with. We've got that base layer already there, and we can just append upon that or make that base layer stronger moving forward. And just on day one, what am I looking for? I'm looking to see what the world is going to think of this game. 9 years ago, when I was working on the first PlanetSide, this type of game never existed. Nobody even knew about it. It was kind of like this, hybrid type thing, and nobody knew what to think of it. Now I think people have a good taste of what PlanetSide is, and they get a good understanding. I think Matt and his team have done a really good job at making sure that this game is distinguished as a first-person shooter with MMO aspects to it. So it's not a foreign thing to everybody now. And I think because of the fact that people have broadband and Wi-Fi everywhere, they can enjoy the game at any point in time during the day. I think it's a good time to release PlanetSide 2, and I'm just waiting to see what the outcome is.
Yeah, PlanetSide 1 was almost too ahead of its time. I joined way late. I'm talking like 2007, 2008. And I'd always been wanting that, kind of holy grail of shooters. And I had heard it was this one friend who played games. He didn't enjoy PlanetSide. He had a pretty terrible rig. This was in like early 2000. I was like 13 years old. And so I just never picked it up. And then I watched a couple videos on it, and I got in, and I was like, my God, this has been here this whole time, and I just haven't experienced it. But I think the world is ready for PlanetSide 2, and I certainly am. I know a lot of the players are certainly ready for launch. What about you, Matt? What's the thing you're looking forward to most?
I'm really looking forward to watching sort of how each one of the empires and which outfits decide to go against each other on different servers, how that all works out. I like watching the rivalries and sort of camaraderie start to form. And to me, it always starts to feel like a game when the forums start filling up with shit talk and drama. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I'm stoked about that aspect of it.
That's a good answer.
Oh, yeah.
Drama and shit talk.
Drama.
Yep. That's what it's all about.
Tremella was going to a new chapter of development. Matt Higbee was drama and shit talk. I'm just belittling. I'm belittling your answer, but it was a good answer.
He's already stepped out of the realm. He's already stepped out of the realm. So he's done with work until we get back to like full swing at the beginning of the year.
November 20th. When are people gonna not be able to buy Alpha Squad anymore?
It's Friday. Tomorrow. Tomorrow's the last day.
I don't even know if this is gonna be up by tomorrow. But if it miraculously goes up tonight, buy that shit. You're gonna want it when the game comes out.
You got less than a day. So get it on. It's got some really good features too. So basically a swap $40 for $40 worth of station cash, 4,000 station cash, plus 12 weapons, some really cool camo patterns for your vehicle, guns and weapons. I mean characters, and a 6-month boost.
Badges, titles.
All kind of
name
cool
reservations.
Stuff. Name reservations. I forgot all about that. Man.
There's too much.
Decals.
Too good of a deal. But seriously, it's going to be one of those things that you're going to be in the game 5 years later, and you're going to see one of the guys rolling by in the founder's camo with the title and the badge, and you'll be like, I wish I was that guy. But you still have time.
You'll never get it. You'll never be able to get it after this. It's gone. It's coming off the marketplace.
So November 20th. Check out the game, download it, and I'm sure everybody's going to love it. Tremel Isaac and Matt Higbee, Rum and Cola, thank you for being here with me today, and I cannot wait until the 20th.
Word.
Yeah, exactly. The 20th is coming up quick. I'll be on the plane in Sweden.
I'll be sitting in front of my computer for 48 hours.
Combing his hairs.
All right, guys. Always a pleasure. Thanks very much, and have an awesome night.
Word, man. See you later.
All right, take care.